so much for joining me for another book review. I am just going to jump right on into this one. So, this book is called Stand Your Ground by Victoria Christopher Murray. And here is the cover of that book. I found this book while perusing the aisles at the library. The cover of the book caught my eye and the title. I wanted to know whether or not this title meant what I thought it meant or something else, but it did mean what I thought it was to be, which is pertaining to the stand your ground law. So I was intrigued to find out what this was all about. So the gist of the story is that Marquise was killed by a man named Wyatt. And the author takes us on a journey of both families, the victim and the perpetrator's family. So let me go ahead and introduce you to some of the characters that you will encounter in this story. So there is Marquise, and he is 17 years old. He's a senior in high school, getting ready to go to a prestigious college. Marquise was shot by Wyatt and died. Marquise is the son of Tyrone and Janice. Now, Tyrone owns an automotive shop, and Janice worked at the post office. And you'll also meet Marquise's uncle, Raj. At least that's how I pronounced it while reading this story. Okay. He was affiliated with the Brown Guardians Biker Club, who has a history of causing havoc wherever he goes. We also meet Marquise's paternal grandmother, Dolores, whom is supportive, but she doesn't know how to read a room. Okay. There is Sarita, at least that's how I pronounced it while reading this story. Marquise's godmother and best friend to Janice. Now, Sarita is teaching English in Germany, and she came back to grieve with the family. And she also has a history with Ra. There is also Heather, who is Marquise's girlfriend and present when the incident happened. On the other side, we have Wyatt, who shot and killed Marquise. Wyatt is a business owner, wealthy, husband to Meredith, and father to Billy. There is Wally, Wyatt's brother, and he has a very short existence in this story. There is also Newt, at least that's how I pronounced it, who is the longtime friend of Wyatt and a lawyer. Now, Meredith is a stay at home mother to Billy and wife to Wyatt. And we also have Gloria, who is Meredith's mother. So, this story starts off with an attention grabber, the death of Marquise being presented to his parents. We see how the parents and the families grieve the loss and wanting justice, which looks slightly different for each parent. We see how the family copes with the tragedy and the steps they take to obtain information about the investigation and legal process, and how daunting, draining that process can be. We also see some family issues come out and how they affect the characters during this grieving process and legal process. We also get to see how Wyatt defends his actions and how the stand your ground law comes into play. And we see Wyatt and his family deal with the investigation. We get a glance of how Wyatt and Meredith's relationship began. It was sort of kind of like a then and now back and forth on that part of the story. We hear Wyatt's version of events regarding this tragedy. We also get a look at how the legal team maneuvers in this case. We see the activism for the pursuit of justice on Janice and Tyrone's end. We get to see the adult battle with how things are handled and the effect it has on family. There is like truth mixed in with lies and speculation, and they're calling it spinning a story, right? And this is often used when feeding the media information and stories. And this is regularly seen online these days with there's a smidgen of truth and then there's a whole bunch of insinuation, speculation, and lies. And we see that a lot nowadays on social media platforms. Um, but as a reputable media source, it was interesting to see that they took the information and didn't seem to be fact checking. And unfortunately, sometimes that is a common practice on, you know, social media, also a common practice in just the regular news. You get to see how the legal team, like, really just pulls out whatever they can pull out for their client. Now, I understand you're paying a legal team to do what is needed to keep you out of jail. Get it. But seeing how things were twisted in this story, or the lies with a little bit of truth, and the mudslinging of irrelevant information to the case was just a little, it was unnerving, it was irritating, and it was slightly shocking because it was like, wow, this has nothing to do with this. So why are we even bringing this up? It has nothing to do with what happened. So you may very well have those similar feelings while reading this story, because I know I did. Or it may have been just like the cavalier way in which these lawyers did it that contributed to that feeling of, yeah, I don't know, you might be going a little, just a little bit too far with it. You will have a variety of emotions while reading this story. I'll admit I cried several times. I felt disgusted, I felt irritated, I felt sad. Yeah, so you may very well have those same feelings while reading this story. The topic itself may be triggering for some. Of course, it definitely comes out in the first chapter with the death. There's death described, extensive showing of the grief process. There's also domestic violence mentioned. The story was well written, very well written. I was kept engaged throughout the story. I wanted to know what was going to happen next. I felt a range of emotions. The story, how Wyatt and Meredith's relationship then and now was displayed, was very interesting. The legal aspect of it kept you like, okay, how is this going to pan out? Like, what type of justice is going to happen? Because I mean, it wouldn't be a story if there wasn't some type of justice, but it's just like, how is this going to play out? For me, it was a page turner, and I definitely gave it a 10 out of 10. The book did provide discussion questions, so I will refer you to those for conversation starters. Libby and Hoopla have this book categorized as Christian fiction, which there was some religious aspects in the story. I mean, of course, they had a funeral, but it wasn't what I would consider a Christian book. But it is categorized as Christian fiction, African American fiction, and romance. With the romance, I could kind of see it, especially with the Wyatt and Meredith, how they came to be part of the story. I could guess you could say Tyrone and Janice had some relationship, romantic-ish moments. I mean, they were married, so that is the gist of the story without giving anything else away, because um, I don't want to give away. the book. I want to pique your interest. Um, and hopefully you'll go pick it up and read it for yourself. Like I said, it is a good book. It is a page turner. You may have a wide range of emotions while reading this book. I was definitely invested in finding out the outcome of this. So it may have been a little bit more fast paced for me because I was definitely like flipping the pages, like, oh, I can find out what happens next. Overall, great book. So go pick this book up if what I have said interests you. And that is all for now. So until next time, keep turning the pages, my book lovers.